What is up, YouTube? My name is Bigboysnacksjonnytv, aka Wakanda Snatch One, because I got playing around. As you can tell by the title of the thumbnail, this is my AEW Dynamite New Year's Smash review and highlights. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys please watch the video from all the way from the beginning or towards the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more Western content. Go check out my WWE NXT review and highlights, and that's all I got to say. Oh yeah, go also go check out my WWE Raw review and highlights. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, AEW Dynamite New Year's Smash was a good show for what it was, and I give that show an 8.9 out of 10. AEW Dynamite was live from Ralston, Omaha, Nebraska, Liberty. Alright. It says, it is the final night of 2025, and you know what that means. Okay. Commentary runs down the lineup for tonight's New Year's Smash episode before we cut to a video package highlighting last week's World Ends pay-per-view event. We then head to the parking lot earlier today as we see MJF making his arrival with the AEW World Championship around his waist. From there, we head to ringside as MJF music hits, bringing the new champ out to the usual mixed reaction of boos and cheers. He introduced himself as MJF, the world champion, before quoting Kendrick Lamar saying, he said, "F the big three, it's just big me," and throws the AEW World Championship out of the ring before revealing the return of his triple belt, his new AEW World Champion. He says a lot of folks are mad at the champ right now, but he doesn't care if they think they're on the level of the devil. They have two options: step up or get stepped on. From now on, he is no longer trotting around. He is going to sprint until everyone recognizes him as the greatest of all time, because he's MJF. He's better than you, and you know it. Before he can go anything further, MJF is interrupted by Kenny Omega on the screen. Kenny Omega says he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning, and it got him thinking, what if he could win the title one more time? What if MJF hasn't beaten him years ago to be the longest reigning AEW World Champion of all time? What if MJF and Kenny Omega get in that ring one more time? Hey, I'm down for it. Kenny Omega versus MJF one more time. I'm down for it. He says that it would be a match against the Cleaner, the Best Bout Machine, or even the title collector. He only needs to collect one title. It doesn't matter if he gets a shot next week, or if he has to scrape and claw his way to it. He wants a crack at the belt. To the champ and all those in the picture, he must bid a good night, more, and a goodbye, bang. MJF runs Kenny Omega down for not being a man enough to say all this to his face. When the music of Hangman Adam Page and then Swerve Strickland plays, much like Dynamite on 34th Street, we see the pair making their way towards the ring from the crowd before security rushed in to intervene. The champ mocks them by saying that win matters in AEW. And as far as he's concerned, there are a couple of losers who need to earn their shot, and if they can be more than happy to be both there, you know what. Alright. With that, he escapes the ring and heads up the ramp as Page and Swerve Strickland take their frustrations out on the security detail in the ring. This culminates with a buckshot lariat followed by a house call, and both men get a microphone. Page promises to strangle MJF with that ugly belt before taking it away from him, and Swerve Strickland says MJF better hope Page gets to him before Swerve Strickland does. May the worst man win. This was a good segment but with MJF, Swerve Strickland, and with MJF, basically. That's all I gotta say. Samoa Joe interrupts from the screen, saying the only one who should be no more contender is the rightful champion. He sees the hurdle in his way, but he has an answer to that. As he talks down Page, putting his hands on Hook, and he has given the second generation wrestler free reign to beat down Page and for Powerhouse to take out Swerve Strickland. Page calls for Samoa Joe to send his boys, especially Hook, and Swerve Strickland says they can do this with no holds barred. Lights out. Swerve Strickland music hits as the pair, and Prince Nana stands tall in the ring while commentary hypes up the remaining lineup for tonight. Backstage, we hear from the conglomeration. Mark Briscoe talks about the group coming into 2026 strong, invoking the name of Ted Turner in the process. They talked about a match coming out of the Mixed Nuts Mayhem match at World Ends, as Tony Storm, Orange Cassidy, and Roger Strong will team up later tonight. The word of the day, according to Mark Briscoe, is physical excitation, because the Death Riders will choke on these nuts tonight. I don't know why they said these nuts tonight. Hey, I'm just quoting what the man saying. Cut me some slack. Tony Storm appears along with Mina Shakara and Luther, with the Timeless One promising her wife that she still loves her before calling for Orange Cassidy to dance tonight. As everyone else walks away, Roger Strong insists that he wants no part of this before leaving as well. Alright, let's move on. With that, we head to ringside for our opening match. Our first are Orange Cassidy, Roger Strong, and Tony Storm, who head to the ring. The Death Riders make their way through the crowd to ringside, and things quickly get underway. So we get a mixed tornado trios match: Orange Cassidy, Roger Strong, and Tony Storm versus the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Maria Shafir. And I ain't gonna lie, this was a I might as well say this was a fun match to watch. The ring clears, and Tony Storm and Maria Shafir, with Tony Storm beating down on the problem with a fury of punches on the mat, and then in the corner. Tony Storm's celebration is cut short when Claudio Castagnoli comes into the ring to send her to the outside, but Roderick Strong comes in. Roger Strong with a fury of offense, sending Claudio Castagnoli to the corner. This is interrupted when Daniel Garcia comes in to beat down on Roger Strong in the corner, but he is stopped by Orange Cassidy, who winds up for a good while before landing a punch on Daniel Garcia. He backs away, and Maria Shafir slides into the ring, going for a full Nelson before taking Orange Cassidy to the mat for a 2 count. Death Riders sends him to the corner for a series of strikes, forcing Orange Cassidy to the canvas as we go to commercial break. Back from the commercial break, it's Roger Strong getting beat up in the corner by the Death Riders before he starts fighting back out of the corner. He lifts up Maria Shafir for a backbreaker, but is cut off by the Death Riders before Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy comes back into the ring to clear things out. The two tango, so to speak, as they keep Maria Shafir and Dan Garcia at bay. Claudio Castagnoli comes into the ring, but takes a double hip toss from the timeless Tony Storm, Orange Cassidy. Tony Storm looks for a giant swing on Claudio Castagnoli, struggling as Orange Cassidy for a PK on the C-Mill champion. Instead, Tony Storm tries again, but is cut off by a boot from Daniel Garcia to big boots. He gets taken out with an orange punch, but Orange Cassidy gets caught with mother's milk by Maria Shafir until Roger Strong pushes her by the hair to break the hold, and then lands a backbreaker to a big pop. Claudio Castagnoli comes in to send Roger thrown away by Tony, but Tony Storm lands some shots before Orange Cassidy hits a spinning DDT. He tries to go for an orange punch, but really Yuta stops him, allowing Claudio Castagnoli to land a pop-up uppercut for the win. The winner by pinfall at the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Maria Shafir. This was a fun mixed trio match to watch. The Death Riders escape through the crowd as Tony Storm checks on Orange Cassidy before we go to commercial break. And let me take a sip of my water. So, commentary hypes up the TBS Championship match for later tonight before we go to a video package highlighting the big year for Mercedes Moné in 2025. Back at ringside, Bandito makes his entrance for our next match as commentary hypes up his AEW World Championship match against MJF at Maximum Carnage, a battle between the only two men in AEW to have held the Diamond Dynamite ring. Out next is the Beast Mortaros, who enters the ring to get this match underway. So we get Bandito versus the Beast Mortaros, and this match right here, I ain't gonna lie, this was a decent match for what it was. They lock up with Mortaros getting the advantage until Bandito breaks free. He grabs his cape from the corner and channels his inner matador to round up the Beast, who can see to fight his instinct to charge at the cape, only for the Ring of Honor World Champion to avoid the attack. Mortaros finally catches him, sending his fellow luchador out of the ring before stomping the cape and throwing it out. Bandito makes his way back into the ring, fending off the power of Mortaros before pointing the finger gun his way, but the Beast Mortaros takes a bite before sending him to the corner. Mortaros charges once more, but is forced to the outside by Bandito, who puts his cape on before giving the Beast impression of a superhero taking fight to dive onto the Beast and sends him to the floor as we go to commercial break. Back from the break, Mortaros takes Bandito to the mat for a near fall. Before Bandito fights back, he takes the big man to the canvas before going up top for the cover and a 2 count. He sends the Beast into the corner, but it's driven down by Mortaros, who gets another near fall. Mortaros gets to his feet, holding Bandito onto his shoulders, but Bandito fights out of it, only to be driven down hard as the Beast gets another close 2 count. Both men are back to their feet as Mortaros drops the Ring of Honor World Champion with a discussed layer before climbing up top, but Bandito rolls out of harm's way. He holds Mortaros up for an X knee, followed by the 21 plex, and is enough before Bandito to pick up the win over the Beast. Excuse me. The win by pinfall, Bandito. This was a decent match, what it was. Bandito celebrates as we get a replay of the finish and commentary hype up the other matches coming up tonight. Up next, John Moxley faces Josh Alexander in a Continental Championship Eliminator match. So we go to commercial break. We had backstage as Bandito is asked for his tough heading into Maximum Carnage. Bandito cuts a promo in Spanish that Brody kindly offers, translating for saying Bandito is the most wanted and is ready to become 2-belt Bandito again. With Brody King looking for a shot, the two pose and walks up, and we cut away. Alright. Back at ringside, Lee Johnson is standing by as we get ready for our next match. Brody King is in action as he heads to the ring, and this match gets underway with Lee Johnson hitting a dive on the big man. Brody King fights back, bringing Lee Johnson back in the ring as the bell rings. So we get Brody King versus Lee Johnson, and this was a squash match. What it was. Lee Johnson charged at Brody King for the corner, running right into the big Larry. Lee Johnson crossed to another corner, and this gives Brody King the opening for a cannonball, followed by a massive powerbomb for the win. The winner of the match by pinfall, Brody King. This was a squash match. Thanks for coming, Shotty Lee. Let me take a sip of my water. It says we cut to a video from Darby Allin talking about his awareness for pain and what he gives him. He has unfinished business with the Death Riders, namely Pac, and he wants to finish what he started. You can almost say he wants to finish the story. What? This was a good video package by Darby Allin. Back at ringside, Josh Alexander makes his entrance for our next match as Don Callis wishes him well at the stage. Josh Alexander enters the ring as we see Jon Moxley get hyped up on his way through the crowd to ringside. He stumbles slightly on his way into the ring, and Josh Alexander sees his opening to get this match underway. So we get the AEW Continental Championship Eliminator match. Jon Moxley versus Josh Alexander. And this match right here, this was a good match in my opinion. Alright, Josh Alexander continues to beat down until Jon Moxley turns it around, leading to an exchange of strikes. Jon Moxley finally gets the upper hand, sending Josh Alexander to the ropes only for Josh Alexander to send the champ to the mat before grabbing a hold of an ankle toe hold by the walking weapon, who stomps away at the leg for a good measure before backing off. He sends Jon Moxley to the corner, but Jon Moxley fights back for some strikes, sending Josh Alexander away. He lands a few more shots on Josh Alexander until the latter sends him crashing to the floor outside. Jon Moxley favors the leg as Josh Alexander brings him back up, dropping him onto the apron to slam kneecap into the hardest part of the ring. Jon Moxley crawls to the corner looking to get a breather, but is hustled up by Josh Alexander into a trio woe, and this gives Josh Alexander an opening to land a corner splash before attacking the leg some more as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, Josh Alexander is firmly in control for a near fall, followed by an ankle lock. But Jon Moxley managed to get to the ropes to force a break. They fight head to the apron as Josh Alexander blocks a pile driver and back body drop attempt. Jon Moxley and Josh Alexander trade strikes on the apron. Now with Josh Alexander taking the champ to a knee as we hear that 10 minutes have elapsed. Josh Alexander draws Jon Moxley onto the apron. Alright, let me see. Let me get a phone call. Hello? Yeah, I'm fine. Alright, I'm doing the video right now. Alright. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. Sorry about that. I really had a phone call. So where was I at? It says let me start from this Josh Alexander where was I? Until I got a phone call. It was at Josh Alexander. Where was it? Alright, here it is. It says let me start this match over between Josh Alexander. AEW Continental Championship match. Jon Moxley versus Josh Alexander. This was a good match. Josh Alexander continues to beat down until Jon Moxley turns it around, leading to an exchange of strikes. Jon Moxley finally gets the upper hand, sending Josh Alexander to the ropes, only for Josh Alexander to send the champ to the mat before grabbing a hold of an ankle toe hold by the walking weapon, who stumps away at the leg for good measure before backing off. He sends Jon Moxley to the corner, but Jon Moxley fights back with some strikes, sending Josh Alexander away. He lands a few more shots on Josh Alexander until the latter sends him crashing to the floor outside. Jon Moxley favors the leg as Josh Alexander brings him back up, dropping him onto the apron to slam his kneecap into the hardest part of the ring. Jon Moxley crawls to the corner looking to get a breather, but it's hosted up by Josh Alexander into a trio woe, and this gives Josh Alexander an opening to land a corner splash before attacking the leg some more as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, Josh Alexander is firmly in control for a near fall, followed by an ankle lock, but Jon Moxley managed to get to the ropes to force a break. The fight heads to the apron as Josh Alexander blocks a package pile driver and a back body drop attempt. Jon Moxley and Josh Alexander trade strikes on the apron now, with Josh Alexander taking the champ to a knee. As we hear that the 10 minutes have elapsed, Josh Alexander drops Jon Moxley onto the apron, but is hurt as well as he gets back in the ring. He goes up top for a moonsault, but Jon Moxley managed to roll out of the way just in time. Josh Alexander brings Jon Moxley to his feet before blocking a Paragon shift, and the two go back to trading blows. This ends with a low drop kick from Josh Alexander, who sends Jon Moxley to the ropes, but Jon Moxley lands a cutter for a 2 count. Josh Alexander breaks free of a bulldog choke for a back suplex, landing a set of shots, forcing Jon Moxley to the corner, but Jon Moxley fights back with a lariat out of the corner. Both men are down as the ref begins the count, but the champ is back on his feet. Looking for a Paragon shift, Josh Alexander breaks free to leave the ring, but Jon Moxley catches him with a diving elbow through the ropes, forcing both men to the floor. Jon Moxley favors the knee as he brings Josh Alexander back into the ring, and this allows the walking weapon to catch him by the leg before driving it into the ring post. He then locks in a figure 4 around the post until the referee intervenes. Josh Alexander backs into the ring, climbing up top for a knee drop before working the leg some more until Jon Moxley goes for a bulldog choke with 5 minutes left on the timer. Josh Alexander managed to break free, but not for long, as Jon Moxley lands some hammering elbows before clinching the hold back in, and Josh Alexander is out cold as the referee calls for the bell. The winner by submission, Jon Moxley. This was a good match for what it was. Jon Moxley celebrates as we see MVP and Shelton Benjamin appear on the stage, with Shelton Benjamin seemingly letting the champ know he wants to step up to him down the line. Jon Moxley acknowledged this before leaving the ring to head through the crowd. Backstage, we see the Triangle of Madness as they address Kris Statlander and what happened leading to the world ends. They say she all alone in her little world, and offer to make it toxic as we go to commercial break. So we go to commercial break. We head back to ringside as Jack Perry makes his way out alongside Luchasaurus for our next match. The AEW National Champion is out alongside GOA, and Ricochet heads to the ring. And this title defense is on the way. So we get the AEW National Championship match, Ricochet versus Jack Perry. And this match right here, this was not a bad match. I might as well say this was a pretty good match. But Jack Perry should have won. Ricochet seems more focused on the crowd chanting about his baldness, but Jack Perry takes the fight to him. The champ sends Jack Perry to the outside, where Leon stares him down before Luchasaurus steps up to keep him away. Jack Perry gets back into the ring. As Ricochet goes after him, but Jack Perry fights back from the ropes before attempting to pull the champ hair to no ball. He ends up grabbing the hair on Ricochet chin for a takedown, but he soon sent to the outside one more as GOA takes out Luchasaurus, while Ricochet hits a dive on the challenger to send him to the floor. He posed with his boys as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, Jack Perry starts fighting back for the corner for a German suplex on the champ. Ricochet is back on his feet, landing a Northern Lights suplex into the brainbuster for a near fall. Jack Perry takes the champ down for a 2 count of his own, heading to the corner for the knee strike, but Ricochet rolls away to stop the momentum, hanging Jack Perry up on the ropes. He goes after the challenger, but Jack Perry sends him to the outside for a dive before bringing the champ back in. Bishop Khan goes after him, but is kicked away, allowing Ricochet to drive Jack Perry to the top rope, landing on his little Jungle Boys. Jack Perry is still propped up on the turnbuckle, and this allows him to catch the champ with the diving DDT for a 2 count. Jack Perry sets up for a knee strike, but is grabbed by Bishop Khan, and this allows Ricochet to land the spear gun for the win to retain. The winner by pinfall is still your AEW National Champion Ricochet, but this was a pretty good match, what it was, but Jack Perry should have won, in my opinion. Ricochet celebrates as we see Toil brings Luchasaurus back out over his shoulder, dropping him to the stage before grabbing a guardrail and dropping it on the arm of Luchasaurus. Jack Perry is back on his feet to see what happens, see what's happening, and this opens him up to another spear gun by Ricochet. GOA and Ricochet beat down Luchasaurus by standing tall over him. Alright, backstage we hear from the Death Riders. John Moxley offers the challenge to Sean Benjamin and the Hurt Syndicate. Willow calls out Darby Allin, and Daniel Garcia wraps it up by saying in 2026 the Death Riders versus everyone. They walk off and we cut to the Babes of Wrath talking up with Will Nightingale's shot at the TBS Championship. That match is up next, so we go to commercial break. Backstage, we hear from MJF as he addresses the potential challenge of Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, and Samoa Joe, and even Kenny Omega. MJF isn't worried about any of them, but it's soon interrupted as Bandito and Brody King appears. Brody King tells MJF he needs to be worried about the current holder of the Dynamite Diamond Ring, who looks to be him for the Triple B Bandito beautiful belt. They turn on him before walking away, and an annoying champ just scoffs at that before leaving. Back at ringside, Willow Nightingale makes her way out for our main event. Out next is Mercedes Moné, and we get ring introductions for the champ and challenger. There's been enough talk, and this TBS Championship match is underway. But let me take a sip of my water. So we get the main event of the evening. So we get the TBS Championship match. Mercedes Moné defends against Willow Nightingale. Oh, I was waiting for this match right here. Now, this was in my opinion, this was the best match of the night. But I'm glad that Willow Nightingale ended Mercedes Moné title reign. And Willow Nightingale got her moment. And that's all I gotta say. Mercedes Moné catches the challenger by surprise with a dropkick, sending her to the outside before leaving to send Willow Nightingale to the barricade. She continues to attack as we see the lead board cut out from the damage as the champ charged at Willow Nightingale for a double knee, but to no ball as Willow Nightingale dodges it before landing a pounce, sending Mercedes Moné into the barricade. Excuse me. She brings the champ back into the ring, but only gets a 2 count. She sends Mercedes Moné to the corner, but is rolled up for a Mercedes near fall. Willow Nightingale responds with a near fall of her own off a backslide before a small spear to take the champ back down for a 2 count. The two counter each other's attack before Willow Nightingale is sent to the corner, where Mercedes Moné turns things around until Willow Nightingale stops the momentum. She keeps the champ down before climbing the turnbuckle for a missile dropkick, sending Mercedes Moné hard to the mat. Mercedes Moné tries to get up in the corner, but is caught with a cannonball, allowing Willow Nightingale to get a 2 count. Mercedes Moné leaves the ring for a breather, but takes a cannonball off the apron but by the challenger for her troubles. Willow Nightingale brings the CEO back into the ring, but is swept off her feet by the champ, sending her into the ring steps, and this allows Mercedes Moné to land a dropkick, driving the challenger's leg into the steps as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, Willow Nightingale catches the champ in the corner for a modified driver, sending Mercedes Moné to the mat. AEW chants from the crowd as both women stand up, with Willow Nightingale landing some hard lariats before sending the champ to the corner. Mercedes Moné fights back with a kick, but takes a pounce by the challenger, sending her to the canvas hard. Death Valley Driver connects, but it's only good for a 2 count for Willow Nightingale. Mercedes Moné fights back with a backstabber, but only Willow Nightingale lands the base with the powerbomb, sending her to the mat. She goes for a pin, but Mercedes Moné gets her foot on the ropes. Willow Nightingale goes up top for a moonsault, but Mercedes Moné managed to roll away before going up top for a false splash onto the knees of the challenger. They fall ahead to the apron, where Willow Nightingale lands a Death Valley Driver, sending the champ onto the hardest part of the ring. She brings Mercedes Moné back into the ring, and the champ tries to escape her gasp by heading back out. Willow Nightingale goes for another cannonball off the apron, but ends up crashing to the floor. When Mercedes Moné dodges it, the champ lands a pair of vertical suplexes, but there will be no third amigo here, as Willow Nightingale sends her into the ring apron to break free. She turns her attention to announce the table, clearing it off as she has some bad intentions in mind. She brings Mercedes Moné up for a Dr. Bomb, but Mercedes Moné fights back for a suplex that sends Willow Nightingale crashing onto the announcer table instead. Both women are down and out as the both women are down and out as the referee begins to count. Mercedes Moné crosses to the ring at 7, and just at the count of 9, we see Willow Nightingale make it back in as well. Willow Nightingale gets a near fall, but Mercedes Moné counters for some elbow strikes into a statement maker, but the challenger rolls her up for a near fall. Statement maker is finally broken by force as Willow Nightingale holds her up, sending the champ into the corner. Babes with the power bomb and counter, and Mercedes Moné gets in their fall. Mercedes Moné tried to go for a money maker, but the challenger counters into a base with the powerbomb for the win. The winner by pinfall and your new TBS champion, Willow Nightingale. This was a good main event match. Good moment by Willow Nightingale. The crowd was on their feet, and everybody was hugging Willow Nightingale. But don't get me wrong. If Mercedes Moné was to retain the TBS championship tonight, everybody would be mad. And that's all I gotta say. But you cannot get mad at Willow Nightingale for ending Mercedes Moné title reign. This was well deserved by Willow Nightingale, because Willow Nightingale has worked her butt off. And that's all I gotta say. So I'm glad that Willow Nightingale got her moment and she has the TBS championship. And that's all I gotta say. But didn't I tell you when Mercedes Moné loses all her titles, the crowd will be invested? Look what happened. And that's all I gotta say. The same thing that Tatum Paxley got her moment when Tatum Paxley beat Jessie J at Halloween Havoc, but in NXT Women's Championship, that was a good moment. That was a good moment by Tatum Paxley. But that just another topic by itself. I decided to put that out there. But this was a good moment for Willow Nightingale. So hats out to Willow Nightingale, and that's all I gotta say. It says we get confetti in celebration of the new champ, who is quickly joining the celebration by Harley Cameron, the conglomeration, as Mercedes Moné leaves the ring. Chris Statlander also comes down to the ring, and after the crowd chants "Hug It Out," the AEW Women's World Champion obliged as she and her old friend embrace. Commentary thanks us for watching AEW in 2025 as the final Dynamite of the year comes to a close, and AEW Dynamite New Year's match goes off the air. In my honest opinion, I'm just gonna be real. Willow Nightingale's moment is the excuse me. What I was trying to say was, after Willow Nightingale becoming your new TBS Women's Champion, that should be the moment of the year. That Willow Nightingale defeated Mercedes Moné to become the women's TBS Championship. That's the moment of the year by Willow Nightingale. But anyway, if you guys enjoy my AEW Dynamite New Year Smash review and highlights, give this video a big fat thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys think of AEW Dynamite New Year Smash, because it was a good show, and I give this show an 8.9 out of 10. So happy New Year, everybody. We're in 2026, and that's all I gotta say from here. So make sure you guys full watch the video, leave a like and comment, share this video, because I'm on the road to 12K. So help me get to 12K subscribers. That is the main goal, and that's all I gotta say from here. Alright, and I'll see you guys tonight for my upcoming world premiere for my AEW Dynamite New Year's match review and highlights at around 5 o'clock a.m. And that's all I gotta say from here. But tomorrow I will be going live on Twitch for some Fortnite to celebrate my 2026. So like I said, so I will be going live on Twitch for tomorrow for Fortnite, and that's all I gotta say. Have a great night, stay safe and always stay positive, and Happy New Year. We're in 2026, we all need to lock in together. So have a great night, stay safe and always stay positive. Kept your crew, kept your kings, kept your club. Too sweet, I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang.